am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Hello, troopers, and welcome to another episode of the Real Jumpers podcast. I am your host, Turner Thompson, and joining me are a few of my fellow jumpers. Say hello, everyone.
Yo.
Hello. This was take 3.
4, actually.
I'll take 4.
Can we keep that in, please?
Yes, we can keep that. All right, troopers, sign off starting from the top.
Hello, everyone. Name's Dennis here. Resident Gundam expert and anything that has a giant robot to pilot. I am your man.
Hi, it's me, Kemi Liar, a.k.a. Nikki, our resident history buff and Twitch streamer.
Sup, I'm Dom. I spent 5 hours last night stuck on the final boss fight of Halo 2 with a friend of mine. Never again.
I watched some of it. 5 freaking hours?
It took us 5 fucking hours to beat Tartarus because Jeremy kept stocking up and he kept jumping up the platform and getting hit by the goddamn gravity hammer.
Well, no, let's preface this. They were playing on Legendary.
It's the worst thing ever. There's jackal snipers, there's brutes who rage at you like a dude high on or something. They kill you in one hit. It's awful.
Wait, there were jackal snipers? I don't remember there were jackal snipers.
No, not in the final boss fight, just in general.
Oh, God.
They just don't make games like they used to, do they?
They do not.
Mm-mm.
Now we have things like Concord.
And Marvel Rivals.
No. We used to have Concord.
Hi, no, I'm Steven. Stevo, whatever these guys decide to call me. I'm glad to be here.
Before I do my shameless plug for myself, we would like to go ahead and recognize all of the disaster that's affecting California at the current moment. And like before with Hurricane Helene, we will have links to disaster relief to help out with the recovery and help for those affected by the fires in California. Our thoughts go out to them. Please donate if you can. Anything is helpful to all these people who've been affected. All right?
Yeah, and to make things clear, we're not literally a charity. None of the money goes to us. This is literally just, we're going to put you some links so that you can just send it to them directly. We're not involved.
Fellow jumpers who live in California, and because this is such a big, disastrous thing, our hearts go out to those who live there and this disaster that has stricken half the country. Well,
I mean, there's a ton of people out there.
Yeah, just California. I'm sorry. I found the meme of, the U.S. being punk hazard quite funny.
Yeah.
It's okay. I live in California. It is punk hazard.
Shameless plug. Starting January 26th, I will be streaming every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 on Twitch, YouTube, and, TikTok, as long as we still have it. We may not have it by then. So if you're coming from TikTok, hi, you can find me on Twitch and YouTube. And we'll be streaming things like Marvel Rivals, AI to you. We'll be doing more Baldur's Gate and things like that. So please come find me at Kemi Liar.
It's nice to see all you again. This is the new year.
I can't see you.
Hey, you wanted more No.
You wanted more comedy?
I did say I wanted more comedy.
I can't see you, Turner. We're doing a videoless podcast.
Turn on the homie's face cam.
I'm not. No, I have a stupid blanket on my head for audio purposes. I'm not doing that.
I just imagine you slouched over like an elf over Santa's toy conveyor belt.
We need to keep all of this, and this is hilarious.
It's okay. So anyway, it's the new year. I have 2 resolutions. 1, I want to become the #1 Venom player in Marvel Rivals, and 2, I want to lose all the weight and become super ripped and everything.
You want Venom's ass.
See, I don't believe in resolutions. What I will do is just have a to-do list of things to do. And one of them I've already achieved by becoming the master of magnetism. I love Magneto.
Magneto is fantastic. Mwah. I fucking love playing him.
Meanwhile, I'm main Jeff, and I'm a traitor to my own team.
No, it's like my favorite thing, us tag teaming as Magneto and Venom, because you hit him from the front, I hit him from the back. It's just so much fun to do. Marvel Rivals aside, by the way, play that game. Overwatch is dead.
So dead.
So dead. Don't even go back there. Anyway. All right, troopers, today we're continuing our coverage of the original Japanese Godzilla. Luckily, we covered all the crucial context and background in part 1, so we can jump right into the good stuff. We're just going to do a few more announcements, and then we'll be, well, not announcements, just like little extra things I need to say, and then we'll jump right into the story. I will put a time code for everyone who wants to skip all this stuff. Though before starting, I want to shout out where we get our research from. That being Wikizilla, Wikipedia, and IMDb. And we also get a lot of our research from the YouTubers Big Action Bill, Paper Fins, and The Unapologetic Geek. Links to their channels will be in the YouTube description. If this is the future where I'm on, I don't know, some podcast site, then I don't know if I can do that or not. We'll see. Like always, we would like to make the disclaimer that the point of our podcast is to entertain and be a comedy. So if we happen to get anything wrong or mispronounce any names, we are sorry, and we encourage you to do your own research if these films interest you. Please comment below what we might have gotten wrong or any other fun facts about the film. And remember to drop us a like and subscribe if you enjoy the show. It really helps us out and would mean the world to us if you supported the real jumpers. And before we get started, one thing I want to say is, I apologize. I was listening to our last episode, and we constantly kept saying the original movie when we conflated both of the American and Japanese version when we said original a lot. So I want to apologize for that.
Did we?
Yeah, we did. We would accidentally refer to the American version as because the reason why we did it is because we saw that one first, so it was easy for us to say the original.
Damn confirmation bias.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I just want to say something quick.
Go for it.
So our lovely host Turner told us something of where currently there are over 700 of you, lovely listeners, viewers, or whichever, that have actively subscribed to us, and I just want to say from the bottom of our hearts collectively, thank you. It's insane to me as a concept that 700 people like our content enough to be like, yeah, I'll listen to these guys, to these people just bash on Godzilla and his googly eyes and the most amazing death sound in all of cinema.
I'm looking at it right now, 755.
Dude, that's crazy.
Still, I hope more of you continue to join in and listen to us continue to bash on this amazing franchise.
I hope people stick around for us to bash on the Halo series because, oh my god.
Oh my god, I don't even know 50 people. That's a lot of freaking people.
Dude, put 700 people in a room.
That's a lot of freaking people. My first knee-jerk reaction to hearing 700 people listen to us is, are they okay?
It's true. You do have to be mentally ill to listen to us.
Now then, ladies and gentlemen, gear up. We're jumping feet first into the heart of sci-fi. This is Real Jumpers. Now let's drop. Previously on Dragon Ball Z.
Previously on Yu-Gi-Oh!
Previously on
It
Godzilla
took
Z.
Dom a whole episode to just consider using the Kamehameha wave.
Look, man, it's like a big thing. We got to make sure we get some tension for the viewers. And look, when Godzilla destroys that infrastructure, it'll be even better.
Okay. Previously, the story began in the 1950s, where the island nation of Japan had begun losing multiple ships off their coast to mysterious circumstances. Horrified by the losses, the nation attempted to unravel the mystery only to be met with more tragedy and loss of human life. Soon, rumors of an ancient sea monster began to stir among the natives of Odo, a remote island near where all the ships had disappeared. When a survivor landed on the island, he proclaimed that he had seen a monster to both his friends and family. Like an omen of death, the lone survivor, Masagi, brought with him a tragedy as the island was soon attacked under the gale of a typhoon by a creature larger than life. Shocked and stunned, the survivors of this incident managed to make it to Tokyo to warn the mainland of this monster. Soon, the powers that be consulted a paleontologist known as Dr. Yamana, who urged a survey to be conducted on Odo Island in order to get to the bottom of this mystery. Once there, they found more questions than answers, and they discovered footprints and traces of radioactive material contaminating the land. Before long, the survey came face to face with the beast responsible for all the death and destruction. Revealing itself from behind a hill, they witnessed Godzilla, the king of the monsters.
The king of the googly-eyed monsters.
No, that's Cookie Monster.
Right.
No, I think Godzilla looks better.
Wait for it. You'll get to the point in the movie where you see the googly eyes. It's cute.
I actually made a note in my script exactly when that happens. That was all back in our the part 1, where we pick back up our story. Dr. Yamana, his daughter Emiko, and her secret Navy boyfriend Ogata, and dozens of natives are fleeing down the side of the mountain, cowering in fear of the terrible visage of Godzilla, portrayed by a puppet.
He's a puppetilla. Rawr.
An interesting thing about this shot is 2 things. One, this is an example of double exposure that is done with the aid of a matte. And what this is essentially is that on one end of the film, they filmed like the hill, and then they strategically masked off a part where they would film later to have the Godzilla puppet. So that way, when they re-exposed it, the puppet would fill in the area that was never exposed in the footage. So that way, the 2 images are married together in the same composite, while within and this is all within camera, no software required.
How they did film before we had our fancy schmancy computers.
Yeah, no After Effects. Well, I use Nuke. Nuke is better than After Effects in some ways.
You know, the funniest part? That's actually topical to talking about Godzilla, how the program's called Nuke. Ain't that funny?
Huh.
That's actually, yeah.
That's actually great. Good call on that one. I didn't even think about that.
Anyway, so as they run away, Yamana manages to snap a photo of the beast before the beast roars and slips away back into the ocean. Everyone, armed with their swords and rifles, then managed to run up the hill to witness the massive footprints leading back into the ocean. And all this is portrayed with something called a matte painting. Matte paintings are... it's a technique where, because back in the day when they were the coin...
Didn't we talk about the matte painting when we watched the English version?
We did talk about them.
We talked about how they did the painting and they just kind of put it over the picture of what they wanted. So it's like, they drew what they wanted and then it just kind of went over the scene.
And it's possible that, like I said before, odds are this is also done through a double exposure to marry the 2 images together through a use of masking. That's why oftentimes you can tell that there's a mask happening, because cameras back then aren't super sturdy or precise. So you can often see there's like a jitter between the 2 edges, and you can see where one thing was perfectly still while the other camera had some dude manually cranking it, or there was a motor or whatever it is those old cameras used. So that's why it jitters just ever slightly, and that's why the marrying of the 2 elements is never perfect.
I remember seeing this matte painting the first time we watched it, and then the second time it's not any better. I have a general beef with this painting because it makes it look like Godzilla was on the beach the entire time, because you can see where the drag lines start with his tail and then go straight, and when it should have just continued straight through.
It's inconsistent with distance and draw or whatever. It's not correct, but it's still
really cool.
Yeah, it's still cool. And it had the benefit of you didn't need to do color matching because it was all black and white. You just had to match luminance.
Oh, it's still also just us looking at it through the modern lens where special effects can depict a dude flying through the sun at Mach 2 while punching a toy dinosaur in the face.
What a descriptive thing to say.
And true.
And true, yeah. I still find it funny. Dennis, you were all over the fact that these people were running with their swords and guns in the first movie.
Because even then, right now, I'm sitting here thinking, what is your sword going to do? What? No, tell me. You already know the thing is irradiated. His footsteps are irradiated. The moment you get close to it to try and hit him, what's your sword gonna do?
It's going to be a splinter.
No, it's going to be like Thanos. Where it's not going to do anything. They're going to do so... Look at what they did for a drop of blood!
Well, you don't think it'd be cute? Well, it'd be hurtful. I don't know. You know, they cute, like giant Godzilla who's got a sword splinter in his foot, and he goes, ah, and you got to go up to him and you got to take it out. Like the lion and the paw.
I think it's very
Look,
funny
man.
when he become a red stain on the ground.
I don't know. I came across I don't know. I guess I came across the Chibi Godzilla Valentine's Day book in Walmart, and now I just picture that.
Yeah.
the Chibi Godzilla with just this thorn in his foot.
See, that's cute.
That's what I was thinking of. But the thorn's a sword.
The last thing I'll say about this is that, Dennis, there's one thing that you may not know about how it's equally stupid if you know that Godzilla's radioactive. So, someone can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I remember that metals tend to absorb radiation better than most other materials. So if you're running around with this big metal katana and like you're near Godzilla, that thing will become more irradiated than you, and you just holding on to the katana will become like poisonous to you and your friend. It literally become a cursed
You
sword.
are correct.
No, you're just charging up your katana for your super radiation slash. You gotta fight radiation with radiation.
No, really? And look what happened when it did happen!
Yeah, dude went out like a badass.
I used the radiation to destroy the radiation.
And the reason I remember this is because I remember when the Chernobyl series came out for HBO that a lot of people started going to Chernobyl for, like, the TikTok. You know, gotta do it for the talk
Oh
or
my
whatever
God.
it's called. And people started touching this like, metal claw that they use for excavating the area.
What?
And, like, that would be the dumbest thing you could do because... like, the dirt around it is not nearly as radioactive as the claw itself because it's metal and it, like, directly touched hazardous materials. And because, again, it's metal, it absorbs the radiation more than other materials. So it'll be worse. Don't touch it. So we're going to transition from one science lesson to another one, a fictional one. So from here, after Godzilla goes off into the ocean, we fade... which, by the way, I'm so glad this movie uses fade-outs because they are much better communications of the passage of time visually instead of these hard cuts that we experienced all over Mothra.
Oh, God. Oh,
They even
God.
did it in King Kong versus Godzilla too a little bit. Even Dennis
Did they?
commented on it. Yeah, Dennis even commented on it a couple of times.
I haven't watched the King Kong
It's not
movie yet.
nearly as much as Raids Again, but like I specifically remember during like our second watching, there was like one or two times it happened. And Dennis was like, "What the fuck was with that cut?"
Yeah, no, but they're learning from their mistakes.
Well, no, this is the first movie. They didn't learn anything. They
They didn't learn
forgot.
shit.
No, I'm talking about later. They learned from their mistakes. Here, there's no excuse.
We fade out, and we go back to the mainland, where we see Dr. Yamana has put together a presentation for all the officials. First, he starts by explaining what dinosaurs are, because everyone there is stupid.
Oh boy, this is a dinosaur. It lived longer than we did. Meteor happened. They go.
He then exposits about the possibility of a dinosaur that is a transitory form between both terrestrial and aquatic reptile. So he's like, okay, so imagine if a mosasaurus, but halfway between that and a Tyrannosaurus Rex. That's what we're dealing with here. He then shows the photo that he took as evidence of this. It's so good.
Isn't it a footprint?
No. He took a... Remember, he said, as you can see by this photo, and it looks like it was hand-drawn.
Oh yeah, that photo.
He submitted his doodle.
I remember Dom really thought that was funny in our first episode when he was...
It's just like they went to so much trouble to like make the Godzilla puppet even with his dumb googly eyes, and they had a whole suit for an actual physical person to run around in, and dioramas and matte paintings and everything. It was like, man, they put so much effort in. And then I just look at this stupid little map that they have on the table, and it's just like, really? This is what y'all skimped on? You like show this to the camera? Were you proud of this?
This thing is literally, I'm pretty sure it's concept art that they had in the storyboard for this scene, and then they just put it.
I think the person who was supposed to draw it just got sick or something, and then the time came to film, and they're like, "Oh shit, what do we got? Concept art."
Because I want to say it's not a bad drawing. It's just that because everything has been photoreal up until this point, it's so blatantly obvious that it's not a photo.
I love it.
Listen, they didn't have Photoshop back then. It's okay.
They didn't need Photoshop. It's called a camera. I know they have one. They
didn't have AI. It's all right.
No, they just need a camera. They already have the thing that could do moving pictures. It's just take a single frame or whatever. Whatever.
Too much work.
Anyway.
That means you got to give the guy, if they did use like an actual picture, right? The guy that took the picture in the movie, like in the universe, is got to get mad props for his commitment to photography.
He probably died of cancer. That's probably what happened.
I was about to say, like, he probably died.
Oh no, Jeffrey died.
Anyway, so he explains that the people of Odo call this creature Godzilla, and that the photo shows that he's over 50 meters or 164 feet tall. By the way, as a side note, back in the American version, they say he's 400 feet tall, which would make him like leagues bigger than even the MonsterVerse Godzilla.
Oh my god, they straight up just changed the size.
Just to make him scarier.
More American meddling.
Oh no, you have no idea, especially with later on. I have my opinions on what they did.
I'm very curious what you're referring to. We'll get to it.
So here's the interesting thing, right? Is there a Godzilla movie that takes place in like New York?
Yes, it's called Zilla.
It's called Godzilla, and it's by Roland Emmerich. It's American made, and we will get to that at some point. Look forward to that, viewers.
So I wanted to put into concept like a size comparison. So I was thinking like, oh, he might be as tall as like say the Empire State Building. No, the Empire State Building is 1,250 feet tall.
He's like a third of that height if he was 400 feet tall, but no,
he is nowhere near as tall. That's impressive for human engineering.
That might be just a cultural thing, because Japanese buildings back then, especially after the bombings, tended not to be too large, I don't think, or am I just full of it?
So how tall is...
No, actually... Well, Dom, you're onto something. The reason why he's that big is that he would tower over most buildings in Tokyo at the time. The only thing... They scaled down one building for him so that he would still look big, because the DAP building would technically be taller than him.
Yeah.
But overall, he was... But this is the reason why he keeps getting bigger, because if you put original Godzilla in modern Tokyo, he looks like a pipsqueak.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, like during Mothra, they had Mothra attack that radio tower or whatever it was, specifically because it was like a popular destination and like recognizable. So it's like, oh, look, I know that thing.
So Yamada asks the question, so how is it still alive? He theorizes that Godzilla feeds on deep-sea organisms and never really went extinct. This implies that that Godzilla as a species has always been there, and we simply have never discovered them. Which kind of makes sense in the sense that this is the 50s. This is around the time when something like that could no longer stay hidden. Because Godzilla, there's no way a creature like that big would stay hidden forever. The 50s is around the time something like that would finally, no longer be hidden. So that kind of makes sense. He would also explain that they're probably from a deep pocket, which you'll get into that later.
It's the thing. It's following the thought process of even now. We have still yet to map out all of 5-10% of the ocean.
So that's a common misconception. 5% of the ocean has been explored, which means someone has been there. We've done sonar mapping of the entire ocean. We don't know if anything that's hidden by sonar, we would not know.
And that's the thing. I'm referring to. We're actually going down to there. We don't know what's down there and what creatures have evolved, adapted, and survived with how little there is. It's even to the point of where, say if you were to go to the ocean, at some point, the absence of light starts to occur. and once that opens up, there's like a bunch of other deadly creatures down there.
Oh, yeah. So he goes on to further prove this, that because there's a literal living trilobite they recovered from his footprints, that he must come from a deep pocket within the earth, as the soil on the shell of the trilobite resembles soil found in deposits dated back to the Jurassic period. He then further believes that nukes disturbed it and potentially forced the beast to leave its habitat. He proves this by stating that the Geiger counters have shown the evidence of strontium-90 being present in the sand, which is a waste product of nuclear reactions. He further states that Godzilla shows evidence of having absorbed enormous amounts of radiation, implying that he previously wasn't like this. And I really like this detail because it implies that the thing we're seeing is a mutation, but it still was a giant monster to begin with. It's also heavily implied in some other lore videos I've seen that Godzilla's atomic breath is something he acquired after being irradiated.
So that brings into question, if this is stuff that happened to Godzilla because of radiation, is it possible that he's rampaging and destructing because he's in pain?
That's actually you're pretty on the buddy.
Yay.
I'd also like to mention, during this whole him explaining everything, he literally passes around the trilobite. This isn't an explanation. This is an assassination attempt.
Oh yeah, because it's still irradiated.
Dr. Yamana was secretly trying to get rid of all of the politicians.
Exactly, so they wouldn't kill Godzilla.
Let's go.
Considering how pissed off he was.
It's like he already knew how corrupt politicians were.
Anyway, so in the American version, some of these things I've stated he does say, but his big thing that he says in the American version is, "It is my belief that Godzilla was resurrected due to the repeated experiments of the H-bombs." And that part constantly irks me, because he was saying it somehow survived, but it was also resurrected. What? That doesn't make any sense. How is it surviving but also resurrected by the bomb? I love this version so much better because it implies it was already there and nuking it simply pissed it off.
Uh-huh.
I feel like that's, like, resurrected is probably just the wrong word to use. Probably, like, reawakened is probably what they wanted to use.
I guess, but I literally went back and watched it to get that quote, so...
Also, you're telling me that if you were asleep at the bottom of the ocean and a literal nuke went off above your head, you wouldn't be mad?
I would be pissed off. I was like, I was enjoying my nap.
I'd be pissed.
I guess what I'm getting at is that the American version implies that the bomb somehow created it when... And I think a lot of people think that way too, because that's just like the general zeitgeist of Godzilla, but the way this movie presents it is that it's always been there. We've simply made it worse. Anyway, so... Chaos erupted following the presentation. A Mr. Oyama, citing fragile global relations, argued for secrecy, fearing widespread panic and economic collapse about this information. A woman championing transparency countered that the truth was paramount, and the room descended into heated debate. Ultimately, the truth did prevail. And one thing I want to say is that I found no proof of this. I found absolutely nothing. I'm just going off of just my gut instinct. I think having a woman inside the Parliament area, I guess. I don't know what that room is called in the DIAP building, but I think that was something that Ishiro Honda pushed for, because he's one of the things that he's known for is that he would leave his scripts for his wife to read so that he could portray women correctly. So I like the idea. I think that was something he did to try and push more representation of women in politics, and I like that.
I'm sorry, I do not understand woman. Please, woman, do woman for me.
I feel like that's a Family Guy bit.
Dennis, can you look at my face? Okay. The distinct urge to just throw my sandal at your head. Okay, I gotta remember that this takes place in the 1950s, where the general consensus of women was, stay home, clean, and, make sure life is easy for a man, so...
I know shit was pushed as, like men and women are different species back then.
Yeah! And I was just like, no! Oh my god.
Anyway, I don't know. To me, I got the impression of like it felt like watching Star Trek, and there's a Russian and a Japanese dude on the bridge, and it's like, cool, that's neat, or something like that. That's at least that's how I felt.
Yeah.
Anyway, so news of Godzilla and its atomic origins hit the headlines, triggering widespread public fear. Concerns about radioactive contamination echoed the real-life 1954 Lucky Dragon incident, igniting anxieties about the potential dangers of consuming irradiated seafood. Because what happened after that, the incident with the Lucky Dragon, people were legitimately like, is the fish contaminated? So, yeah, so like that was a huge fear. And so, again, this movie's a big metaphor.
That would, you know what? That makes like 10,000% sense, because this guy's this giant ass radioactive monster is going in and out of the ocean. That would definitely affect the fish.
Yeah, exactly. Afterward, we cut to a radio broadcast stating that all the boats should avoid a designated area as a fleet of warships are being sent there in order to eliminate Godzilla with depth charges. This is then followed by all the naval stock footage that Toho could muster in order to fight the prehistoric monster.
All of the boom boom footage basically is all stock footage from a war, right?
I'm pretty sure it was. I would bet my reputation on it. I'm pretty sure that's stock footage, because that seems like it would be really expensive to rent a warship and then go just blow stuff up.
It'd be cool.
It'd be cool, but I think because again, Toho's origins was like a propaganda machine, so they probably have stock footage lying around.
And they could rent the entire cast of Kantai collection. Thank you for laughing at that, Steve. You got it.
News of this reaches the Yamana household, where we see the doctor has adopted the orphan Shinkichi. He was back in the first episode. He's the survivor of the attack on the island. He, Emiko, the doctor, and Ogata hear the news of the bombings on their television. After secluding himself in his study, we learn that Yamana does not want them to kill Godzilla. Mostly because A, he likes dinosaurs, and B, he's basically lamenting the idea that this is a brand new thing. Why are we killing it?
Because it's killing us?
Later on, the public believes the naval fleet has killed Godzilla, which leads to many people partying on a large boat in Tokyo Bay. However, their celebration is cut short as they hear mighty footsteps and catch a glimpse of the Monster King surfacing not too far from them. Oh, look, honey, it's Godzilla. Oh my god!
No, it wasn't even footsteps. They were on the ocean, on the boat, dancing and partying away. Like, yay, we finally killed it. He literally shows up like, oh, hey, sorry I was late. I was stuck in traffic. Could you believe the traffic I made?
These asswats. Can I say that on the internet?
I guess so.
Okay. These asswipes decided that, oh, everything's okay. We're going to go ahead and party before we get the all clear. No. You chose death.
A quick correction, Dennis, there actually were footprints. That's why I put it in the script.
Were there footprints? I thought he
They
just
can
came
literally hear him walking along the bottom of the ocean. I'm not joking.
Oh my
and
god.
his stiletto heels.
Wait, if he's that loud, Jesus. Also, Steve, what were you going to say?
I just love that Godzilla pops up like a meerkat for a few seconds. People freak out. He doesn't do anything. He just goes back down, just like, oh, y'all partying? I'm going to leave you alone.
No,
He's like a meerkat.
It's Timon!
He's just a confused animal, man. He's just like, they doing up here?
Like, last time I was awake, these guys didn't exist. What the fuck's going on here?
Stupid hairless apes.
And their giant fancy log.
I knew I should have eliminated them 50 million years ago. It all started when Unga decided to claim the watering hole for himself.
I took a nap and then suddenly they evolved. Dang it.
And now they're noisy.
Isn't
No,
that just
they're not.
Beerus?
Kind of.
I took a nap and suddenly some dude evolved to defeat Majin Buu, and then in the span of like a day became a Super Saiyan god.
And like that, you explain the concept of Dragon Ball Battle of Gods.
Okay, so news of the beast in Tokyo Bay calls for an emergency meeting where Yamana is once again called in for his expertise, asking if he knows of a way to kill it. Yamana, disheartened by this, because he was like, oh, I thought maybe you wanted to plan to maybe not kill it. Disheartened, and when pressed further, he claims it's impossible to kill it, stating that a nuke couldn't do it, so what else is there?
Hold on, can we go ahead and just decide? Because nuclear warfare is how this started in the first place, right?
Yeah, they were testing H-bombs.
They decided to kill the nuclear monster with more nuclear devices. I don't think two negatives make a positive in this instance.
Well, it did for Mothra because it did power her up.
That's what
Yes.
I mean. Like, in theory, wouldn't that power up Godzilla?
So that is a question that has been super dubious forever. Like, never, and they always keep saying, well, would a nuke kill him? Because, like, a lot of people think that, like, Godzilla didn't directly get nuked because the nuke happened above the surface of the ocean and that he simply got irradiated. So for a long time, there's a huge debate about whether or not a nuke could actually kill Godzilla. In, I think it was 2016, whatever the modern King of the Monsters came out, in that movie, he literally gets nuked directly in the face and it makes him stronger so he can go square up with King Ghidorah.
They can't wait for that.
So they kind of answered that question there.
King of the Monsters came out in 2019.
Thank you. So instead, Dr. Yamada starts going on about, like, instead he begs them to try and learn from it and get to the bottom of its incredible ability to survive despite the radiation. So news of Yamada's controversial statements spread, igniting heated debates within the local newspaper. A man named Hagiwara is a young reporter and is assigned to cover a story based on Dr. Serizawa, and who is Yamada's future son-in-law. And this is where the whole scandalous relationship starts to come up. Meanwhile, Ogata and Emiko discuss their complicated relationship, acknowledging that Serizawa's wartime injury for why he has the eye patch, and Emiko kind of describing that his feelings for him are more platonic than actually love.
Brother-sister kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, because she kind of grew up with him, so she doesn't view him as a romantic partner, even though she's in an arranged marriage with him. They haven't gone through with it yet. While they're talking about this, Shinkichi interrupts, introducing Hagiwara, who seeks Emiko's help to secure an interview with Serizawa. That's a lot of names going back and forth.
Keep up.
Seeing this as an opportunity to address their feelings, both Ogata and Emiko agree to help him. I think I worded that sentence terribly. Basically what I'm trying to say is that Emiko and Ogata see this as an opportunity to finally break the news to Serizawa that they're together and they want to break off the whole marriage thing, and hopefully they could all...
Can I go all romance anime on this shit?
Sure, why not?
Get this. All right. Here's some straight anime romance bullshit going on here. All right. Emiko and Serizawa have been engaged since they were kids, right? But she views him as a brother because they grew up. He is still in love with her. Meanwhile, she's over here getting chummy with Ogata, and Ogata loves her too. And they're like, well, yeah, we'll totally go to Serizawa and tell them that we love each other and, ask him if we can call off the engagement.
We'll see how that pans out.
Meanwhile, this baffles my mind because the engagement would have been made by her dad. Shouldn't they be going to her dad instead?
Yeah, and he also hangs out in their house all the time.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Just this side hoe Ogata is just hanging out with this chick all the time, and her father isn't questioning it at all.
I think a part of him knows, and he just is like, whatever.
I'm married to my work.
You're an adult. You got married to my work.
So anyway, we cut to Serizawa's home. They encounter a disgruntled scientist dismissive of the reporter's interest. Hagiwara, citing rumors of his research being relevant to anti-Godzilla
operations, claims a German scientist as his source.
Yes, and Serizawa vehemently denies these claims, refusing to discuss his work. The reporter sees himself out, leaving Emiko to broach the subject of her feelings for Ogata. However, Serizawa, burdened by a heavy secret, confides in her instead, revealing the true nature of his research.
You got some timing issues here.
Yeah. bad timing overall. The doctor ushers Emiko down to his laboratory, which we called a man cave in our first episode. A dark and macabre place filled with beakers, fish tanks, books, and other various equipment. Serizawa silently brings her to a fish tank before placing a small round object into the tank and then flips a switch. He warns her to step back from the tank as an eerie, sharp noise is heard and something happens inside the fish tank off-screen. Something so horrible it makes Emiko recoil in fear, as if whatever she saw was more terrifying than Godzilla itself.
Which, one quick thing I'll mention when we watch the American version. I've never watched really a Godzilla movie through and through until Turner sat me down, forced me down to watch Godzilla -1 because it was great, and it was. But this is considered like my second Godzilla movie. The way how this scene is shot, in my opinion, looked like Serizawa created Godzilla with all the fish around. With all the testing that he's been doing, for initially when I wasn't really thinking like, oh, did he has like a little mini Godzilla that he has there? And that's when you brought up the oxygen destroyer.
Oh yeah,
That would have been a really funny point.
Right?
They did a really good job of making his lab look like a stereotypical scientist lab. Honestly, his lab looks like he could have been building Frankenstein, to be honest.
Yeah.
But her reaction to me was more like, was more akin to watching someone get murdered. Like a living person get murdered in front of her.
Also just really bad overacting.
Yeah.
yeah.
She does the stereotypical, like, hands over her entire face, reeling back, fainting as the man has to catch her type thing.
Remember, it's the 1950s.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying. That's why she does it.
Afterwards, Serizawa swears her to secrecy and to never reveal what she witnessed, and she promises not to.
But she will break immediately.
Guess he in like what, about a week's time?
Not even.
I think it's like 2 days.
No, it's about a week.
Is it?
We'll see.
Something
It's
around
about
there.
a week.
Something like that.
Because actually, later on, something big and impressive they do actually has a montage building up to it, so it implies passage of time, shockingly.
Yeah.
No, like, seriously, like, to hell with spoilers. It happens literally, like, 5 minutes later in the movie anyways. It's literally just, hey, man, can you keep a secret for me? Like, seriously, you can't tell anyone. Yeah, what's up? I want to propose to my girlfriend. Oh, nice. Hey, Jeff, he's going to propose. God damn, what did I just say?
Well, it's a little bit better than that in this movie, but we'll keep going anyway. So, Emiko then returned home after her experience at the lab. Her face was a mask of despair. Ogata and Shinkichi, brimming with anticipation, instantly sensed the bad news, and nothing was her response to their worried inquiries.
This dude was hanging out at her house and she wasn't even there.
As a friend.
He's so in with it with her father that I think it's painfully obvious that someone is just.
By today's standards, somebody might find that as a red flag that you're just coming home and this guy that you're, I don't know, courting is just sitting there at your dinner table and your dad's not even at the table. He's in his steady moping.
Yeah.
And he's just like talking to the neighbor kid that your dad's just, just this random kid that's also there. And it's just like, I'd be like, why are you here? You didn't even call first.
No, what gets me is that Ogata is a military man.
Yeah.
Why isn't he at work?
Yeah, that's a good point. There's this national crisis going on. Why aren't you dealing with this?
I don't know.
It's the same thing for, like, all horror movies. Everyone's just, like, off at a cabin in the woods for, like, 3 weeks' time, and, like, nobody calls about their whereabouts. There's just, like, he hasn't been to work in, like, 3 weeks. Is he okay?
I don't like this love story. All it serves is to make the final, like, events of this movie have a little bit more tension, and that's it. I don't like it. The love story / family drama that happens in Godzilla -1 is leagues better than this.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out that every single Godzilla movie, every single monster movie we have watched so far has had a love trope in it, except for the one designated for women.
Exactly. You said that in our last episode, too.
I know, it still baffles my mind, and I will continue to bring it up.
An awkward silence descends upon the living room as, Ogata, Shinkichi, and Emiko all seem to be just avoiding the question of what the hell just happened. And even then, the arrival of Dr. Yamada, he's oblivious to the family storm that is just brewing beneath his nose. The tension in the air is palpable, and a heavy shroud is hanging over the room until a distant wail of a siren pierced the suffocating silence, which is like, oh, thank God.
Plays the Family Guy European sirens.
Like, I was tempted to do the sound. I don't want to do it. So thankfully, the side story that I don't care about is rescued by impending doom. We then hear familiar footsteps are heard approaching as the Yamada family rush outside to see what's happening, Yamada himself claiming Godzilla has returned. Soon, dreadful music plays that continues to pick up in intensity as Godzilla breaches the surface of Tokyo Bay and is met with an immediate response of machine gun fire. Side note about this, I really like this because when we first watched King of the Monsters, they implied that they knew he was coming, and the first thing they did was machine guns. And that really pissed me off because I'm like, why do you think that's going to work? That thing's like 4 whales put together. That's not going to work. But in this movie, the way it's presented is if they didn't know he was coming. So it makes sense that machine guns were used because that was probably the only thing they had on standby.
Yeah, probably.
Soon, panic erupted. Screams pierced the air as hundreds scrambled to escape the encroaching terror. Cars honked frantically, their drivers blinded by fear, while pedestrians surged through the streets, trampling each other in their desperate flight. Amidst the chaos, Yamada, his family clinging to him, reached the overwhelmed military checkpoint. The doctor, his voice hoarse with fear, pleaded with the officers, "Don't shine spotlights on him. You'll only enrage the beast." His pleas will fall on deaf ears, and he is soon ushered away. Godzilla soon makes landfall, and the citizens of Tokyo are shocked and stunned at the sight of this titanic monstrosity. We see a local shipyard, a testament to human industry, become a canvas for the kaiju's wrath. Freight crates and steel girders buckled and twisted beneath the monstrous weight. As the beast tore through the docks, an unfortunate passenger train would soon cross paths with it. Unable to stop in time before crashing into the monster's clawed foot. Offended by such an affront, Godzilla picked up the train with his jaws and tossed one of the cars aside with contempt. A multi-decade hatred of human infrastructure was born on this day.
Fuck you, train.
I just like the visual that Godzilla picked up this train and teared into it like it was a Twizzler.
Allow me to set a scene for you. Everyone stands around, horrified and shaking. The tension in the room is palpable as Yamada stands there, pad in hand, waiting for the news. And then he looks up. It is as we feared. Somehow Godzilla returned.
Oh my god.
Somehow he cloned himself.
I might need to check, because I think I put an exact version of that joke somewhere in the script, and now I can't use it.
And not only did Godzilla return, somehow these people managed to consistently lose the fucker. I know we talked about it when we did the fucking American version, but just seriously, they constantly lose a multi-dozen foot tall lizard that's rampaging through Tokyo. And it gets people killed, like, multiple times.
I think you're making a little error here, because Godzilla makes landfall 2 times. This is the first time he makes landfall. He kind of messes around and then leaves. And then what you're referring to is when he comes back later, and then they actually lose track of him, which is still really stupid.
It's still stupid.
140 tall radioactive prehistoric dinosaur, and they can't fucking find it.
No, what gets me, like all of this, they can hear his footsteps from the bottom of the ocean, yet they can't hear him 5 feet away from him.
He's got serial killer feet. You know?
It sounds like one of those Google autofill memes where it's just like you type in "I hate it when," and then it fills in "I hate it when I lose my 400-meter tall prehistoric dinosaur."
Soon, terror gripped the populace as Godzilla then demolished a steel bridge with ease before vanishing back into the sea. The city reeled in shock. Some time has passed, and in response to the monster's brief appearance, a desperate plan emerged. Encircle Tokyo Bay with a 5,000-volt electric fence, potentially lethal to the monster. We then see a montage of mass evacuations commence and witness the military mobilize, deploying tanks, trucks, and artillery to guard the perimeter while the formidable fence was constructed. In this version of the timeline, there's it's
progression.
I love this so much more. It makes sense how they got this fence up because it almost feels like it took them like a week to get this ready, or at least like a couple days.
Yeah.
Because in King of the Monsters, they're like, by the way, they're building a fence right outside. You didn't see it? Yeah, it's done.
Two things. One, can I take care of the next section?
Go for it.
And two, it's the progression. It's the thing that we wanted so desperately in King of the Monsters that's here. It's progression. It's the showing of the passage of time. You see the people evacuate. You see them getting their cars, their luggage, leaving. You see military, you see construction happening. You don't see that in King of the Monsters. You just see, this is the plan that we're going to do. And it's already put up. Like it's an ad for one of those, those commercials for the 1970s appliances that can be, look at this, it can be brought up instantly. This hair dryer that can make your hair instantly. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Or am I just...
I actually have lost track of what you're talking about. I'm so sorry.
Days later, Ogata intends on proposing to Emiko, even though Godzilla has made landfall and dipped out. Arrives at her home, telling her that he's going to ask for Yamana's consent. However, his plans are derailed when Yamana, returning home, despondent over the nation's obsessive with killing Godzilla rather than studying him, clashes with Ogata, who supports the military's actions. Their heated argument culminates with Ogata's expulsion from the house, never to return. So just like a normal Thanksgiving over here in the States.
Honestly, I would, if I was Yamada, I'm going to be frankly honest. If I was Yamada and this guy, seemingly attractive military guy, kept hanging around my daughter and they've got a romance even though she's supposed to be engaged to somebody else, I would have kicked him out a long time ago.
Yeah, but that's us now. This is them then.
No, now we'd be okay with it. Then it might have been the problem.
Either way, regretful, Ogata pleads with Emiko for another chance to speak with her father, but his plea is cut short by a chilling radio announcement. Godzilla has been spotted approaching the bay. The bay is losing power.
Shut up.
Heading towards Tokyo. On the shores of Tokyo Bay, the military awaits Godzilla's arrival. An eerie silence hangs in the air, broken only by the sweeping beams of searchlights. The kaiju emerges from the sea, and a tense standoff ensues. Tanks and artillery silently train their sights on the approaching monster. As Godzilla approaches the electrified fence, the film shifts from human drama to spectacle of special effects. Wow. In a poignant symbolic gesture, Director Ishiro Honda, the architect of this monstrous creation, flips the switch, activating the fence. This act as a metaphor passing the torch acknowledges the dominance of Eiji Tsuburaya's groundbreaking visual effects in bringing Godzilla to life. The film, now primarily a showcase of Tsuburaya's artistry, transcends human drama and enters the realm of cinematic spectacle.
I love that fact so much that it's literally Ishiro Honda turning on the fence. And I love that fact. It's so great. A big shout out to Big Action Bill. He's the one who points that out in his video. And I'm like, that's such a meta, joke / acknowledgement. And I love that.
It's a literal passing of the torch. Get
exactly.
It? Mm-hmm. But back to the movie. Godzilla breaches the fence with contemptuous ease, like they thought it was going to do anything.
Well, I mean, they didn't know anything beforehand. I would have thought maybe it would have worked. Electric fences tend to work on a lot of big animals.
Very true.
This is not your normal big animal.
That is, yep.
Artillery and gunfire barrage into the beast to no avail. In rage, he roars, shrugging off the assault and destroying the fence's towers, unleashing his atomic breath. He melts the steel edifices like wax.
So, cool thing about that I want to bring up. I mentioned it in episode 1, but this might be the first time anyone hears it, and episode 1's not that great. You don't have to go watch it.
Go watch it.
Fucking depreciate your own fucking product.
He sits there and the entire time where he doesn't count episode 1 as our first episode. Like, what?
It is our first episode, but I want to start off on a stronger note anyway, so...
Somebody starts off on a stronger note.
Whatever. The cool thing about this effect of melting the steel towers that hold up the electric fence is that they are literally made of wax, and because wax is translucent, which means some light can get through it, what they do is they shine from offstage, they shine a light at the wax, and it makes the wax bright, but through a black and white camera, it looks like it's glowing, and because they're spraying like a mist on it on top of that, that's also illuminated by a stage light, it makes it look like a beam of heat is making it heat up. And because it's wax, the lights literally heat up the wax to the point that they become weak and they melt falling over. And it's such an ingenious use of the limitations of black and white footage. And I love stuff like this.
You said limitations of black and white footage, but it also shows how they are able to manipulate it too.
With the perimeter breach, Godzilla rampages through Tokyo, incinerating buildings with his atomic breath. He targets both structures and people alike. His attacks fueled by a vengeful spirit against the humanity that irradiated him. Emergency responders struggle to contain the fires, but Godzilla seems to target them with a malicious intent, destroying buildings around them, fueling his hatred for infrastructure.
A column of tanks attempts to stop him, but their rounds are ineffective against his hide. Godzilla retaliates with a torrent of atomic fire, reducing the tanks to slag. Also, during this little sequence, is the single best frame in the entire movie, when the Godzilla puppet looks directly at the camera, and it is the goofiest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's pretty bad.
He looks at the camera, and it's the derpiest puppet you've ever seen with the googly eyes, and it's cute. It's like, so derpy, it's cute.
It's so funny because almost any other angle you view it from, it has, like, at least it looks kind of menacing. Again, this is the 50s, so it's a little limited, but, like, it's only when it looks directly at the camera that it becomes all, like, So, unfortunately, we are running low on time, and I'm sorry that this is probably the best part of the movie, but we got a little sidetracked today on Real Jumpers.
Cliffhanger. So we're going to end here for the day, guys. I'm so sorry it took so long, but you know what? We're just going to leave you on a cliffhanger, and we'll just force you to come back and, listen to part 3.
I know I've probably said thank you to the audience about, 5 times already? Still, thank you for your time and consideration for listening to us.
And just to remind you guys, if you want to catch us in any other places, all related social media to anybody related here on the podcast will be in the description below. And if you would like to donate to any of the relief functions for the current fires in California, that will also be in the description below. Yeah.
My apologies. I didn't want it to end like this. I was hoping that we could get through all of this on time, but you know what? This is a very important movie, and I want to cover, everything about it. So, yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching part 2. We'll see you again in part 3 very, very soon to talk more about this amazing movie that Turner forced us to watch, but we ended up actually liking anyways. Thanks a billion for catching us. We'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Bye.